Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a little old school album review. I'm finishing up a discography from one of the big four in thrash metal leading up to their new album, which comes out on Friday. And as you can see by the title, we're going to be talking about The System Has Failed by Megadeth, the band's 10th album released in 2004 under Sanctuary Records. Now, of course, I reviewed this album over a decade ago, but that review is just shit, so I just deleted it, and I'm gonna do it actually proper now. And honestly, my thoughts on some albums or reviews I've done in the past, I've deleted before, but mostly because of the quality, and sometimes my opinion of them has changed a bit, but that's besides the point. But anyway, back to this album. The System Has Failed, Megadeth's 10th full-length album. But before we go into that, let's just go back to 2002. I believe Megadeth were still on the album cycle for A World Needs a Hero, their previous album, but it was around that time Dave Mustaine had suffered like an arm injury or something, and because of that he was unable to play guitar, and because of that Megadeth sort of like broke up / went on a little hiatus for about a couple years. But then go flash forward to about 2003 or 2004. Dave, originally this album was supposed to be a solo album, but because of like the record contract, they still owe Megadeth. They've still like owed one more contract album under the Megadeth name. And from what I've heard, there originally Mustaine was going to get like the original like Rest in Peace lineup to play on this album, because of course they originally got Nick Menza, who was on board, but for some reason David Ellefson and Marty Friedman were kind of iffy about it. But because of this, there was like a lot of guest musicians, so technically this is sort of Dave's solo album in a way, but really it's under the Megadeth name. And they have like a lot of guest appearances or guest session players play on this album. Mostly like Chris Poland, who played on the first two albums, Killing Was My Business and Peace Sells, had contributed like guitar work on this. And I think it's great to hear him a little bit, as well as like Dave shredding again. And then of course Dave's vocals is really great. The one thing to note is just the bass playing is pretty audible, and the drums are good. Don't even forget who plays bass and drums on the album. I know it's listed on here. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's Jimmy Lee Sloas on bass and Vinny Colaiuta on drums. I probably butchered that. Yeah, and I know Dave Mustaine's son Justice did some background spoken parts, and there's some keyboards and backup vocals. But yeah, anyway, I've pretty much rambled on for about 3 minutes, but so yeah, let's just dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is Blackmail the Universe. Now, this song is a really good heavy number that has some news headline things in the background, which I'm not really a huge fan of that, but the riffing here is pretty good, and it goes along with like the words spoken by the announcer. Dave's vocals on here aren't really top notch, but they're pretty tolerable and a bit too melodic for this kind of heavy riffing. Sometimes I can't hear his voice, or it's maybe drowned out with the guitars, but besides that, the song is pretty good. Moving on to Die Dead Enough. Now, from what I've heard, a lot of people hate this song, and I don't even know why. For me, when I first heard this song, it's really catchy, also very melodic, and has some really good solos. And Dave's vocals can be a little bit annoying at times, but they're pretty good. Moving on to Kick the Chair. Now, this song kind of reminds me of something I would hear off of Countdown to Extinction. It's finding its way to the angrier kind of like edge of like the earlier albums, with the rapid back-to-back solos, kind of like similar to like Hangar 18. And the rest of this album hasn't quite got this feel down, but it should be generally accessible to anybody with a liking of this album. And the bridge here has like the vibrant signature sounds of Yore, with stylings that feed off to some of the date sources, but without going as far as like watering it down or taking sort of over like the Mustaine powerhouse. Moving on to The Scorpion. Now, The Scorpion is a very quirky, strange kind of song, but it pretty much grows on you the more you listen to it. Dave's vocals are bad here, but the guitars are still good. Very mid-tempo, but not old school in any matter, and very catchy as fuck. And there's like a buzzing riff played on the high and the E string, and then it just leads into some really cool organ string keyboard work, which somehow reminds you of something like Merciful Fate would have done on like The Oath or something. And Dave's lyrical abilities have struggled for a while now, but the melodrama you see in the verses and the hostility heard in the chorus makes it up tenfold. Next song on the album is called Tears in a Vial. Oh, and this song, it's pretty boring, and I feel like it's unmemorable, though the melody is okay, but I feel like the song is stretched too much, and it's a very passable tune. I Know Jack. Now, this song is a little interlude, which I feel like is far too short, and I feel like it's very unnecessary. Back in the day, now this pretty much gets the CD rolling again on high ground. This song is really heavy, and it has it's a really good tune. The lyrics are just really glorifying metal, and I just love the song. I remember first hearing this when Megadeth were on an episode of Duck Dodgers, which is like a Looney Tunes show on Cartoon Network back in the day, and they're pretty much, Dave Mustaine was guest starring on that, and I thought it was pretty fucking cool. But anyway, back to the album. Next up is Something That I'm Not. Now, this song is not too impressive, but pretty mediocre at best. Nothing too impressive here, and the lyrics, I feel like, are somewhat unconnected. Truth Be Told. Now, this pretty much picks right back up, and it's a very heavy tune that kind of reminds you a lot of something from Rust in Peace. I guess well, not that much, but there's like heavy riffing in there and some really good guitar work. And Dave's vocals are angry, and I love the line like "Hell's open for business now." And I thought this song is a bit too long, but nonetheless, it stands out, and it's another impressive song. Next song on the album is called Of Mice and Men. Now, this sounds like a classic, and it's really nice song on display here. And another song which I've heard some people get some shit on it, but I don't understand why. And this song is another one of the more catchier on here, and it has some really good guitar work and a great solo. And Dave's vocals take that high melodic edge here, and it's very pleasurable to listen to. And I love how the lyrics are really nicely structured out. Shadow of Death. Now, this is, like I said, another needless interlude, and it features some guitar work, but they should have just used it for another song instead. It's just another pointless interlude. And then we close things out with My Kingdom, which provides the finishing touch to the album, and it is kind of a mediocre song, but all in all, it's a good ending to an enjoyable album. And overall, The System Has Failed by Megadeth is a pretty good album, pretty good comeback for the band. So I'm going to give this album a score. I'm going to give this a solid 8 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.